There we go. Sean, I'm
Yes.
so excited to have you back on the podcast. It's almost
Thanks.
been a year since we interviewed. Your episode aired last June.
Yeah.
In between now and then, we have seen the fall shows and we're heading into the winter shows for Magic. I will see you next week. So I figured
Joke about that.
this would be a good time to bring you back and chat all
Yeah.
things retail, socks, and just life.
Yeah. Thank you again. You're awesome for doing it. And I appreciate your hard work and your team. They're amazing.
I
Um,
I'm so grateful for them. I'll tell you, because they seriously are the reasons why this shit happens.
right. Well, because you realize like what you'd have to do and just if you were solo in a day just to make
Yeah,
it
no.
work. Right. And you're just like, there's no way in hell. There's no way. You need help.
Well, I sat on a podcast roundtable during the gift shows, and I was the only retail podcaster, and there were three guys that are interior design podcasters, and like one of them's like so major, and the other one next to me was like doing all the editing themselves, and I felt like I was like that happy medium, because I even said, I'm like, I knew I have no tech understanding whatsoever. So I knew going into this, it was not going to be me trying to edit. And like next to me, like he's like a really well-known interior decorator, and he's like, I learned how to edit it. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I learned it all myself. And he's like, what a pain in the ass. I'm like, exactly why I am not doing it.
That's why we go to the grocery store to buy cheese and we don't all just raise goats. It's like why would we do that unless it's our passion? Like, I mean, that's what help is for.
Yes. Okay. You have to turn around so you can show everybody this gorgeous space that you are in.
I'm in my, well, here, I'll do this and try not to drop you. I'm just in my backyard. Like, really, I'm just kind of like,
It is so beautiful. Now you're like
in my thing.
up north.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in Grass Valley. So northern, on the way to Tahoe, basically, like Tahoe off Highway 80.
And it doesn't, did you get snow? Do you get snow there?
A teeny bit. We're only at 1,800 feet, above sea level. So it's got to be really freaking cold. And it has been.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tahoe is an amazing winter wonderland right now. Thank God. But yeah, no, when we bought the house a year ago or so, it snowed the day we moved in, which was really cool and beautiful. It provided some challenges, of course, but it was just a light dusting. It made it like, it's one of those instances where you're looking around with a major life change. You're like, holy crap, like that was the best decision we've ever made type of thing. We're really happy. And it's been, I mean, it's a lot of upkeep, it's a big place and some property. So it's just, but I like it. I've missed, we lived in a neighborhood for a long time and I missed just, rolling up sleeves and just figuring things out and getting dirty. And like, I just missed it. And I've been kind of jonesing to get back to it. I'm not a neighborhood guy. I'm more of a open space guy. So just feel really lucky, blessed, and fortunate to be where we are now.
Because when we talked to you, you were living in a motorhome
I'm still doing that.
outside of the Socksmith office.
No, because that's my mobile apartment, right? So that's where I am during the week. That's where I am on the coast.
Still are. Okay, so you still are having that lifestyle.
I have that up at 2:30 on a Monday or Tuesday morning, in the car by 3:15, in the office by 6:30, and do the rest of the week and then head home. Yeah, on a Wednesday night, depending on when I get there. Right, if I'm usually I'm there on a Monday morning. I'm coming back on Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
Okay.
If I'm there on a Tuesday. I'm coming back typically on a Thursday. Rarely do I come home on a Friday from the Bay Area, because that's suicide. It's just awful.
Awful. Can't imagine.
And now post-pandemic, with levels that were, I think, are higher traffic-wise than pre-pandemic. Like it just
100%. And people are bigger assholes now driving than they were before the pandemic. So it's not just it's not just me, right?
Nope. No. I've seen more people pass on the shoulder in the fast and slow lanes, going like 90 than I ever have in my life. And it's just like, it's like nothing to it. Like, I'm just going to go around you this way. It's like, dude.
So I've realized, because I happen to be, I'm usually pretty high strung and anxiety. And, you get into a car, into situations in LA, any of you have driven on the 101, where I used to get really aggravated with stuff. And now I've realized that because of how insane people are, that, and it's also work I'm trying to do on my own. It's like,
Yeah.
step back. I'm going to be in the slow lane.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah.
drive up my ass, you can go
Yeah.
right around me. And it's like, before, the old Michelle was like flipping people off, like,
Yeah.
and you get so angry. And part of it also is like, I realized I have to step, like, that's on you, buddy. Like, I have no idea, like, what the
I'm the
fuck is
same.
going on in your life. Like, but you go right ahead. I'm going to
Yeah.
stay here and stay as calm as possible.
Yeah. I've threatened to get one of those, license plate frames, or like, dude, I am never in a hurry anymore. I'm just not. I'm not in a hurry anymore. I'm just, because there's no point.
No.
Like, and especially, I mean, think about, like, especially our industry. Like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a neurophysician. I'm not any of that. So I don't, my mentality is just like, dude, I'm gonna get there. The things that are waiting for me at the office, or whatever, those don't go away. Like, I will address them. We'll have our meetings. We'll have our creatives. We'll have all that stuff. And so I'm no longer in this like, oh my God, I gotta leave it. It's not worth it anymore. Right. I'd rather just take my time, enjoy it, podcast, like, listen, music, and get there when we get there. I make a lot of phone calls early in the morning, like to the East Coast.
Yeah.
I have a lot of reps, that are on the East Coast. So there's a lot of that communication, which is kind of nice because I can knock those out early. And they love it because they're just like, yeah, man, I'll have a cup of coffee at 7 a.m. for them. And I'm like, yeah, I've got time. I've got nothing but time. So it's nice to be able to kind of conduct business that way. And then by the time I get to the office, it's just, okay, now it's all hands on deck. Let's go.
Just because I'm realizing I forgot you're in the motorhome. So how fast are you going on the motorhome?
No,
Up
no,
the freeway.
no, that's parked, right? So it's a trailer. That's parked.
Oh, so it
Yeah.
stays and you
That
drive back and
stays,
forth in your
and I'll just
car.
go, yeah, my little commuter. I'm just back and forth, back and forth. Yeah.
Gotcha. I thought
Hey,
you were schlepping that thing back and forth. I'm like,
no, no, no,
I'm
that I
exhausted.
couldn't do. That's just that. Oh, whew, that would be a grind. That would be a grind. No, no, no. But it's good. But before you and I went live, we were talking about the whole show circuit, right? So, and then the year that's happened since you and I were on this platform, there's been a lot. It was a crazy, weird 2022.
First, before anything, I want to acknowledge you got a major promotion. Like that's the part, because that came up, I mean, shortly after the interview posted, and I saw you at Magic. I mean, tell everybody like your job was, and now what your role is, because I don't want to, hate to cut you off, but I don't want to step away from that, because that's like a major thing.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I was director of sales and marketing for Socksmith for roughly 6 years. Having come from the hard goods and kind of accessories world, based in San Francisco at a company I was with. And then, so I've been with Socksmith for a while now, right? And then a couple of things happened, both personally and just in the business sense, for the brand. And Eric and Ellen, the owners and founders, two of the three, Cassandra Aarons was another one. She has since retired. But the three of them were kind of like, hey, we've done a lot of work here and we're doing really good things. We have a really good team in place, but now we feel it's time to maybe kind of pull back and enjoy traveling, enjoy life, and not have to be so day to day, kind of always on and available.
Yeah.
And so they did some kind of reflecting and discussions amongst themselves. And then the decision was made, which, I'm so grateful for, to do a couple of things. One was they wanted to transition, like I said, kind of out a little bit more Eric wanted to hand off some of the day-to-day tasks, if you will. And so he named me president, which I'm very, very grateful for, and always will be. And then at the same time, we also announced that we were in the process of becoming employee owned. So, so it in one fell swoop, we had this major change, right? So it's like the owners that everybody looks to as like the beacons, like the foundation. It's like, hey, this is great, but we love you guys, we care about you guys, and we don't want to sell the company, so we're gonna sell it to you guys. We're gonna make this an employee owned opportunity. And so that was a big deal. And then they named me as president.
That's
So it was like, yay, now there's a ton of pressure and I'm friggin', now I don't sleep at all.
so for people that like, because what does employee owned, isn't REI employee owned?
Yeah, but they're a co-op.
What is that? What does that look like? And what does that look like for the employees?
Yeah, there's a lot of like beer, like those microbreweries are employee owned, right? A smaller business, like you have to hit a criteria. You have to have X amount of employees, close to 30 plus, whatever. And then you have to revenue, like you have to generate X amounts of millions of dollars a year. And then within that, you have to have infrastructure in place. Like, do you have a solid kind of upper tier employee, like, cast of characters, if you will. So you have to have, whether it be your VP, your president, your director, right? All those things kind of have to be in place. And then what happens is you basically apply for, you spend a crap load of money to get your valuation in your company and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, once you're in it. There's like very little going back, because that money you don't get back, right? It takes a lot of money to do that.
Wow.
So we've spent all kinds of cheddar on this process, right? Yeah. And at the end of it, it's like, holy crap, there's no going back. So let's, what does this look like? And so if you have a bad year, it's like, oh, great, our valuation isn't as high. If you have a great year, it's like, woohoo, we're valued. And then basically you borrow money and you pay the people off that need to get paid, basically owners, founders. And then that chunk of loan, basically, right, this chunk of change, sits in an account with an executor or some type of a person, and then we start paying it back, in the form of a loan. And then we have shares, a percentage of shares based on, how long we've been there, what our roles are, and it's much more complicated than that. But we get to own it. Like in 5 years, we vest, and from then it's kind of like we can. I mean, it gets crazy. There's tax benefits. There's all kinds of really good stuff, but we have to work our asses off to get to the point where, we're taking care of the founders, the owners, because that's the most important thing. The second thing is that you maintain the integrity of the brand, right? Yeah. So you don't do stupid things. Everything gets watched, right? Way more budgets now. I have to be more conscious about what I'm spending on shows and things like that. All those little things start to add up, because now we have money to pay back. So we're in the process. That hasn't officially happened yet, because it's such a long process, but it's super exciting. And people who have been with us for a long time, now it's not just a job, like, hey, I love my job, I'm coming to work. Now it's like, hey, I love my job and I'm an owner in this project.
So this process has been going on how long?
Let's see, in July.
So almost a year. Oh, not almost 6 months.
Yeah, or 7 months.
So the employees obviously know that's what's happening. Like, have you seen a difference in the employees' output and attitude? And like, I'm sure there's, every company has, you have the stellar rock stars, and then you have kind of the Bittertons, and have you seen?
No, I would never say that, Michelle. Come on, I would never.
Well, maybe not there, but have you seen what's the difference of seeing the employees' outputs? Because I think the sense of pride, it's like, it would be interesting to hear now, 7 months into it, what that looks like.
Yeah. So we're ramping up to make it official, right? So there's still a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of money to be spent, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of lawyer stuff. But what happens is, you get people who are just like, wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. But now we're just like waiting, right? So now it's like, hey, when's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? And what we don't, the things that we explain kind of weekly, monthly, whatever, is that when you're borrowing money, it's like anything else. You're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy anything of magnitude. Well, it's all tied, like it is normally, it's all tied to interest rates. So when we could look at borrowing at a 3% versus a 7%, that's a huge difference when you're taking out a very large chunk of money to pay back over time, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these little things that come into play. So for the most part, employers are like, hey, yeah, we understand it's a timing thing too, right? We got to strike when the iron's hot. We got to be careful. And so that's kind of where we are now. The attitude in general is like, can't wait for it to happen. Like, just give us the updates. Let's keep going, keep going. And for me, my message is pretty much, I don't want anybody to stay for the sake of staying.
That was
I don't
my
want
next
any,
question.
I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, Jesus, man, I've been here for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. Now I got to do another 5 before it's worth it. No. If you're unhappy, then you need to move on. And if you're unhappy, then I want somebody to say, hey, here, this is what's going on in my head. Can we talk through it? Like, that's the conversation I want to have, because the problem is when people stay for the sake of staying and they're not happy, as you know, it doesn't matter what you promise them or what's going to happen. If your productivity, if your passion, if your love, if your caring isn't there, well, then it makes no sense to be part of it anyway.
So the people
So
that are like, kind of like, not into it, and like, okay, so it's an all or nothing. It's not like you can remain on as an employee. It's like you're either like an owner employee or you're gone.
yeah, kind of. I mean, there's always going to be that discussion like, hey, are you in or you out, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to like hiring people, for example, well, then this changes the hiring game, because you sure as hell better make sure it's a good fit for your
Yeah.
company. You're right. There's no, and like in the retail world, the turnover is so great.
Yeah.
It's just so challenging to find good employees. For us on the brand level, on the wholesale side, it becomes a little more unique in that the people that are with us already know us. They know the system. They know the brand. They live it, right? They've been there for a long, long time. Our turnover is very, very, very small. When we bring someone in, it's really well thought out and discussed. We don't lose people very often, so it makes it even more important when we're bringing on a new team member that they're a good fit, and the
Yeah.
people that are there aren't looking. I don't get the sense that people are like, well, I have to make a decision. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. For now, at the most part, I mean, unless people are talking and I don't hear it, which is obviously could be a possibility. But for the most part, people are just like, hey, I'm super stoked. I want to be part of this.
I would think
I'm
everyone's excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It gives you some lofty ass goals, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for me in my role, it's like, okay, we're constantly looking at projections. We're constantly looking at, okay, how do we get there? What channels do we need to get into? You have to identify those channels. You have to places that we're not. I've told everybody, it's like we're gonna get into places and channels and businesses and partnerships that we don't have yet. And some of these are going to require a lot of work, like a ton of work. Whereas 5 years ago, you're like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't want to do that. Like, we don't have to do it. We're growing so fast, we don't have to do it, right? But now it's like, hey, folks, we're going to look at each and every opportunity that comes our way, because we
Like
have
the
to.
dude with the 5 stores that wanted the discount.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, dude, don't be a clown. Or going back to the retail part, it's like, how do you get to a buyer that's so entrenched in this archaic approach to business that they can't see an opportunity if it slapped them in the face?
Okay,
I
so
mean,
we're going to get into that. But first, before we get into that little touch moment, is tell everybody, okay, your responsibilities prior, what do your responsibilities look like now as the president?
yeah,
That's
I
a
think
big title.
it is. And I think the biggest thing for me is our support is really, really strong. Like, one of my closest and dearest friends, the one who brought me in to Socksmith and introduced me to Eric and Ellen, Henry, Hank the Tank, right? That's his name, Hank the Tank. You met him at the show, actually. You met him at Magic.
Yeah.
So Henry is our director of operations slash catch all slash kind of do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So his title is officially director of ops. However, what I'm doing now is, because his sales background is so extensive, 30 plus years as a road rep,
Wow.
right? And he's coming from big ass brands that like are game changers in the industry, like big brands. So he's seen and done it all, right? Worked with the best. He's just done it all. So what I end up doing is leaning on Henry more and more on the sales side of things. Whereas, so I can start carving that stuff away, like off my plate. I can take it off my plate and say, Henry, can you help me here? So he's starting to have more direct rep interaction. He's always had some, but now he has more.
Mm.
I now will take some of the trade show responsibility off on my plate, and I've got amazing people. I mean, we have amazing people that are into it and so helpful and really way smarter than me and way more organized than I am. So, our marketing manager, Rachel, like I can't do it without her. Like you said, you have your team. I can't do what I do without Rachel, without Henry, without our creative director, Katie. Like there's so many people in place that do so much that now I guess my view is maybe more overall coming from the top, like, okay, what can we do here? Like, how can I help you here? As opposed to me like having to do this. Like, okay, no, I'll do this through and through. Like, no, let me pack the crate for the booth and go through every single sample and do the edits and do the picks and do all those stuff. As much as I love like the hands-on, the minutia of that part of it, now I can say, hey, can you please help me with this? Because I need to spend some time over here doing this. And so that, I think that part, some of the littler become major day-to-day stuff starts to come into play for me. So that's nice because we have such great people. I mean, truly, we really do have a fantastic team on every level.
Well, obviously, if it runs the way it does, and the fact that now it's transitioning into its new way, obviously, like the people are, I mean, that's like 80% of your company is the people, and how much they care and how much they're willing to shoulder and how much they do. And obviously they do a lot and it's paid off that now it's becoming a shared company, which is amazing.
And Eric and Ellen are so respected and so well loved within not just the group, but on the retail side too, right? Ellen runs the retail stores. And so it's just everybody wants to do well for them, not just for us, not for ourselves, not for the brand. Everybody wants to do well for them, make them
no doubt.
You take care of them. And inevitably that's like always been my goal. And I told them that the day I was hired. I'm like, I want to get you to the point where we're revving and you have options. And the options are, hey, we're going to cash out and live happily ever after on the beach. Great. That's what you want to do. You deserve it. Hey, we're going to sell it for a big chunk of money. Hey, great. That's what you want to do. You deserve it. Right. All these things. And this scenario came out and they're just like, hey, we don't want to turn it over to anybody else. We don't want to sell it to a conglomerate that's going to screw everything up and remove the culture from the brand. So here's the opportunity for us that seems like the best fit. And that's kind of where we are.
Well, you just said that and it just dawned on me. It's like, not only is it obviously great for the employees, but the culture and the brand that you guys have created, what I don't think people realize is when they do sell companies and they keep on a couple of the key people to keep things moving along, but ultimately the culture changes because it's no longer the people that created that culture are still involved, or the new people have come in and started to it's like what they created is going to continue on in that same that's a great, I love that because that just like light bulb moment just went off. It's like that because there's so many companies that get bought out, which is like the dream, right? But then God, the company just goes to shit, and like you see 90% of the staff changes over and suddenly it's not at all what it was.
Right. And then eventually, people move on, and then all of a sudden now there's like, oh yeah, I'm the original, I was here back in the beginning, and everybody's different around them, and it's like not the same, right? So that was super important for us to not have that feeling, because it just won't be, right? Nobody leaves. We're not leaving. Nobody's like, hey, I'm out, I can't do this. It's all like, cool, what does this mean for me? Like, how do I get involved? What can I do? What else can I do? Right? That's the challenge. Like, what else? How else do we grow? How else do we keep doing what we do? How else do we innovate product and so on and so forth? And that's the cool thing. That's what I get to be continue being involved in, is like the product development and ideas and creative and things like that. And that's what I love. So selling is fun, but I've never considered myself a salesman ever. Right. I've never worn that traditional.
Well, because you're good at it and it comes naturally. So you don't really see.
Thank you. Right? I mean, I probably run a little long in the mouth, and I think as I get older, I just don't care about the sales side of it, right? I've always been a fairly decent storyteller, when it comes to product, because if I'm selling a product, I sure as hell better love the product, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm selling a product, I will make you believe that I love it, and you'll believe it because I'll believe it. Because I will. It's just important. I'm not just going to do some like song and dance. Like, I truly love what I do, and I love where I am. I love the brand, but I've never considered myself that sales guy, right? I just don't.
Because you build relationships. I mean, you had even said on our interview before, is it the relationship part of it, and that's what I think any good salesperson. It's not about the sale. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's really about that connection and your relationship you have with the person that's buying and how you take care of them. And that's what makes me insane about some of my reps that I don't have taking care of the account. And it's like,
Right.
they don't call you or anything. And then you show up at the show and it's like, hey, can we write do you have any time? Oh no, I'm totally booked. I'm so sorry. It's like, wow, like, thanks for calling and considering like putting us on your like
Yeah.
appointments. I mean, and that's where it's like a relationship. Somebody does call and check on you. I mean, I have amazing reps that are like, hey, I mean, you even reach out to me and and you're the president of it. It's like that speaks volumes, and that's why you are a good salesperson, even though that you're not a salesperson.
Yeah, thanks. But I think, I don't know, your approach might be different, or maybe there's some similarities. I feel like after all of this, really, if you're not making friends, if you're not just completely digging what you do, then there's something wrong. You got to like, I love meeting people now. And honestly, I'm kind of introverted. I really am. Which is odd because, I've been in like a band for 11 years, and I've done a lot of things that people are like, really? Wow. I'm way more at peace like now, like by myself in an area like this, than I am pretty much anywhere else. But when it's time to go, like, you got to go, like, put your game face on, let's make this happen. But I love the process of meeting people and connecting. And then maybe 5 years, 10 years down the road, it's like still having that connection. That's so important, because I've always said, like, you never know when you're going to just need to lean on someone, or better yet, like, you never know when somebody's going to lean on you. And to be in that space where somebody can call you and say, hey dude, can you help me? Like, I've got this, and I'm just wondering if you can help me. It's friggin' awesome. It's a great feeling to be like, wow, I love it. I want to help you. I'll do anything I can to help you. And to me, that's as important as, like, you know what? Yeah, I just placed a $2,000 order. Super. I love it. Thank you. But let's go further than that, like, let's do this. Let's do that 2,000 order, but then let's talk about building your business. Let's talk about how this is going to look in a year, in 2 years. Like, how do we, what I mean? That's kind of all part of the process. That's the part I really like.
We have the show.
Am I really dark right now? Like, should I scoot back?
You are a little dark, but I can see you. I mean, you can scoot back.
Here, what if I scoot up? I gotta scoot up, because it's like trying to navigate the sun setting and all this weird.
We're going into the show season. Well, I'm on the tail end of my show season. Thank fucking God. Like,
yeah.
But for me, my last show is Magic, which
Okay.
we leave Monday, but that technically, and I know for you, it's like the shows are just starting. Is it Magic like the first of the shows, and then it?
No, I did Atlanta Gift a couple weeks ago.
Okay, because you do both. You do gift and apparel.
Yes. I started in Atlanta for, every 8 days. I mean, it's a 5-day show, for God's sakes. Like, no show should be 5 days. Jesus Christ, it just shouldn't.
I know. Well, I 100% agree. It's like after, I think Shop Object was 4 days, maybe it was 5, and then New York Now, I believe, was 4 or 5 as well. And because the shows start on the same day, one show or the other is really busy, and then the next day's busy, and then at the very tail end, it's like, I have to wonder if it costs more to have the employees there, and
Totally.
all the buyers are just kind of wandering around and
Crickets.
I always felt so bad for, like, there's a sense of guilt I have, like Bulletin, the platform Bulletin.
What is that? No.
It's so weird. See, this is why I want to have them on the show. Now it's a show.
It is a show.
So Fair is a platform you can purchase from. Bulletin
Sure.
is also a platform that you can purchase on. That the girl, her name's Allie Kriegsman. She wrote this book, How to Build an Empire. She and her friend started Bulletin, and it's basically like Fair, only it's indie brands. They're probably a little bit more vetted than Fair. And New York Now was purchased by Emerald. Emerald purchased Bulletin. So now Bulletin is part of New York Now, and Bulletin, they had their own little like bubble pop-up space where they had all these indie people that are on the Bulletin platform in the space, and they had anything. They're not booths, they were like the tables, like very small. So everyone's kind of standing there in front of your stuff. And there was some stuff there was this line called Dad Grass that was so fucking good, and I want to have him, but it's like it's a hemp CBD product, but it's like the packaging so good, and he's like super engaging. So and I felt so bad for the person at the table next to them, because
no one's giving the time of day.
You see people, and everyone's interested in his, and they're kind of standing there, and it's like, oh my God, I felt so bad. It's like, I know you guys as reps or anybody that shows in any of these lines, you have that going on, and it's like those last couple days of the show, or that last day of the show, it's that times 10. Like you're literally standing there.
But you know what though? Let's go back to that real quick. Just that standing there. And that's when you got the fight. Like you've got to fight. You've got to come up with ways to be creative. You sure as hell better have your elevator pitch dialed. Because if you get that one person who's looking at him like, oh, that's really engaging. Oh my gosh, I want this dad grass. This is really cool. And they take 2 steps in front of your table. You better know how to bring him in.
So how would you bring him in? Like what would your pitch after somebody coming off of, like, you have a face care line that's next to this rad weed line that he's like, he's done, he did collaborations with George Harrison.
Oh yeah. So
how do you come off that? So you're like, hi, how are you? Like,
yeah. Well, first of all, if I'm hearing that pitch in George Harrison, I'm gonna play off of the George Harrison pitch, right? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna play on that first. I'd have to hear it to like really be able to, but it depends, right? If it's and this is, I don't know, you could get shit on for this, but if it's, my pitch is different to a woman than it is to a man. Sometimes.
Oh, no,
I'm not saying like, ooh, it is, right? Because sometimes you can get a vibe, and that like, okay, I can be this way to this guy, but I probably shouldn't be this way to this woman, this person, right? Whatever. There's just things in that regard, like you have to be conscious of, especially now. So so it's constantly changing, but I'm just saying, like, as a rep, like, you got to know, you have to know your business. You have to know, so that when you get that opportunity, that person is, and like,
you're on.
That's really, that both, like, that whole section, starting with the dude with, the hemp, like, and then all the way down the line, like, all that whole group was really, really good. I saw 4 brands there that I'm really interested in. Right. So it's just, I just think you have to be ready.
Yeah. It's
at all times.
I feel, it's like, they looked ready, but they just, like, I felt for them, because it's like anybody, it's like you're standing there with, like, especially if you're the creator, you're standing out there, like, your heart on your sleeve, like you're so attached to this because you made it. And it's like people are walking by and it's like, it's very awkward, because I feel like I'm like, hi. And and then the poor people that are trying to give things out. And I'm just going to say this right now, because at the gift shows, there's a lot of people that just gave us such stink face. And it's like, I have to explain this now. Why? So at the gift shows, people give shit out on every single, from the bags that I don't understand, the buyers that take a bag from every person. Why?
Don't even get me started.
I don't understand. To people that are handing out some cool stuff, like Lip Poppy and Pout hands out lip gloss. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I hate taking it if I'm really not interested in the product, because
Yeah.
I know I'm going to throw it away. And it's like, I, because you go into like, no, thanks so much. And they're like, okay. And one of the guys, I was like, wow, like Aaron, who's with me at Magic,
Yeah.
we're walking by and he's like, hey, do you want a free lip gloss? Like, no. And Aaron's like the same way, super polite. No, no, thank you. And he turns around and the guy, God, who doesn't want a free lip gloss? I was like, wow.
I'm gonna shame you. I'm gonna shame you and wanted this product.
And
Damn it.
I feel like I need to explain why I don't take things, because honestly, like I fear, because I know I'm gonna throw it away, and it's like I don't, and I don't want to drag it around all day.
Yeah. I don't know. I think yeah, every show has like really stellar moments, and every show is some of these kind of newer, smaller brands that get out there, and they're trying hard, and so like you described, some of them are like wins, others, the owners, the creators, the designers probably shouldn't be public facing,
Yeah,
because they don't get it. It's
yeah.
hard, right? They can go behind in their studio, in their lab, in their home, whatever, and create all damn day, but get them in front to talk about what they've done, and it's like deer in headlights. And
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. You've seen it a lot. And that's just natural. Whatever, it's fine. That's why if you can, even when you lean on a friend, it's like, hey, can you help me out? Because I'm not good at this, and you're better than me. Can you please just help me out? And then buy them a few dinners and a couple drinks, and off you go.
And hire somebody that is handing stuff out that belongs to part of the brand. Because I think a lot of people hire temps and they just stand there like deer in headlights that are zoned out because they've asked people if they want a lip gloss 45 times and 10 people have said yes. But where if it's someone from the brand, at least it's like they can talk about it and like engage the person, and you're the face of the brand. I think a lot of people again like hire temps, and it's like even for writing sales orders, and you need the bodies, I get that, but you also need somebody that like they're representing your brand.
Sure. Yeah, it's important, right? Because you only get one chance. Most of the time, you only get one shot. Right?
Now with Magic, are you guys rolling anything out new, and what are you excited about?
We are indeed. You know it. We're
What?
all about creative, right? So, I mean, last year we had, I think it was 532 products that we introduced as far as like SKUs.
Wow.
That's
That's
design.
a lot of intros.
No kidding. That's designs. Like that's our collection. Do 3 or 4 collections a year and you bust them out. And that's why that's what makes it so fun, because we create so damn much. And it's not like we say, oh, you know what? Here's 50 new styles. Here's designs, whatever. Tell us what you like and we're going to build it. And then the ones that you don't like, we're not. Like we bring it all in. We order.
So it's because the gift industry, when it starts in China, they will show a bunch of items to get reads on what people like, and then based on same thing as the gift show in January is the holiday lines, like here it all is, we got reads on this, we're going to produce this, we're not going to produce that. Is that the same way?
Not us. We're all in, baby. We're all in.
You produce it no matter what.
Because what happens, and we tried for 3 years to pre-book with our reps. Like, hey, go get pre-books. Here's your little discount. Here's your incentive. And we're not a big discount brand anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the new stock. Yeah, go pre-book it. Blah, 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 blah. And some people were able to get some pre-books, but not enough to move the dial. Because really, when you're trying to pre-book items, you have to have a lot of data. You have to have a lot. And because we offer such a wide variety of styles, and newness in between women's and men's and kids, it's really tough to get a read on 1 or 2 or 10 particular styles. So for us, we tried it for 3 years, didn't really move the needle like we thought we would, like it would. And so we're like, screw it. We're an ASAP business, fill-in business anyway, 95% of it. So let's just build it. If you build it, they will come. And that's kind of what we do. So when we go to a show,
put it in production, like how many quantities per style goes into production that I
mean, the worst style is going to get 1,200 units behind it. The most
it's the smallest amount that.
Wow.
And what happens?
And the most might get 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, right? We had one SKU last year that we did almost 28,000 units in just one damn SKU. And it's been our one of our top fives every year for the last 6 years. Like it's just
Top it to you.
top two is one of them, but that wasn't number one. Yeah.
What happens when you have a dog and you've got 1,200 units of it?
Well, I mean, eventually, right? It's not just 1,200 that sits there. Eventually, with as many customers as we have, it kind of picks down, right? It buys down, dwindles down. It just, if we look at our run rate, we're like, okay, this clearly isn't working. It doesn't meet our threshold. So we'll just sunset it and off it goes. And then it doesn't make the next carryover catalog because it's discontinued. We don't. So it's just, it's this kind of pretty complicated cycle because we do so much new.
Yeah.
But I mean, put it this way. So because we carry inventory, we have the ability to fulfill really large orders. I'm talking about like 98, 99% fill rate.
Wow.
So we got a drop November, right? Because it's go time. So, we take a $56,000 reorder and they want it next day. That sucker, that went out. It came in on a Monday at 8:00. And it was out the door by, I want to say, 1:00 the next afternoon.
Damn.
It was almost 100% fulfilled.
That is so important. The fulfill,
it's insane. It's insane. And I talk about it all the time on LinkedIn. I talk about it to our rep. Nobody can touch our warehouse. Nobody. And I don't give a shit what industry it is. Nobody can touch
you can't, you don't even know. I mean, still with the supply chain, there's still, I don't see it because I'm not at Burt's. I'm still walking the show at Burt's, but I'm not there receiving. I don't see what comes in. I just kind of hear it from Aaron. And I do know that it's like, certain, like we did whatever X amount, and it's like, okay, we got like 7 SKUs off that whole PO. And the apparel side of it, gift is as bad as well. I mean, it's coming back a little bit, but there's some companies still where it's like we don't even write it anymore. We just like walk and look at it and even the reps like, do you want to start writing things? Like, no, we're just looking at things we're not going to get.
See, that's brutal. And for us, that's
it's literally, right? But I mean, the fact that you guys ship almost 100% is crazy. I mean, I mean, for the people that are listening to this that need lines, that are sick of not getting your lines, like this is.
And that's one of the things too. And that's a good point. That's what becomes so frustrating on the trade show level, on the buying level, right? So how do you convince someone to just think out of the box a little bit, take a little bit of risk and get out of their comfort zone to try a brand that we have so much data on, like just how well we perform at the retail level, that when someone doesn't want to give us the time of day, or like, oh no, I've already got that covered. It's like, no, you don't. You think you do, but you don't. And this is why you don't. And this is why I think you should just give us a shot. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Whatever. That's fine. Right. But it's really hard to get, especially as like some of those bigger buyers, just to get like, oh no, I have my set. I've got my POG. I've got my whatever. Right. It's like, okay, well, where does the newness come from? How does a buyer who's been buying for 15, 20 years, the same damn thing over and over again, how does that, they're so afraid of taking a chance and not having success that they won't take that chance. And that becomes frustrating because, like I said, the data is like, oh my God, I mean, in Atlanta, people walk up and talk about business. How was the show? How was 2022? What's going on? And I was like, man, you guys pay our bills. You literally pay our bills. You keep our lights on, you pay rent, you pay our employees. We had one, I tell you this because I just love this little store so much, but we have one account and it's a clog store, clogs, right? They sell clogs. It's 700. And I think he has 750 square feet. And he did close to $40,000 last year.
Oh my God.
And just socks. And I'm like, if this guy in this closet of a space can do almost 40 grand, what could a company do that really got behind it? Like, wait, in that space, what if I dedicated a rack? Like, what if I gave you, okay, you guys have a double-sided rack. What if I put that over here? Like, what would that look like? And that's the part that it just infuriates me. It's like, oh my God, come on,
So
man.
let me ask you this, because I know I can already hear everyone's questions, is in 700, however many square feet, and he sold that many, how did he display those socks to be able to turn those numbers?
We're on a wall. That's the way you do it. You go
Slat
slap.
wall.
Yeah. And he
Oh,
did it.
I
He
hate
bought
slat
into it.
wall.
I know. Most people do, but you know what? When you sell an item like ours,
Yeah, he needs to be. You only stand there and look at the whole. I mean, it's
oh
the
my
same way
God,
we
it's
buy
because
as
it's the
buyers.
story, right? That's the story. You're looking at
Yeah,
it, and you see people in our own stores, and not just for our brand, right? In our own stores, we have, slat wall that surrounds the interior of the entire space. And then the shoes, they have their space, but they're on tables. They're on these beautiful columns. They're throughout, right? It's all kind of scattered in
yeah,
just in this real beautiful way in a very large space. But every brand has their story on slat. So it doesn't matter if it's us or a competitor or whatever, right? Somebody can go in and see this story unfold in front of them. And that's where people are like, okay, oh, I need that one. Two, and then two becomes three, and four becomes five. And right, it just goes on. And suddenly they've
yeah.
got a basket of 15 pair of socks in their hand. And guess what? You're selling a crap load of socks. And it took 10 minutes as opposed to somebody trying to buy a shoe for $150. It took them an hour to get the
Yeah.
right thing. And that's the
I
difference, right?
Socks always, it's funny because when I had, and I don't know if I told you, I was one of the partners of a store called Sweet XO, and it was great because I got to design and create this store with no budget. That was like, the guy was like, just do what you do what you do. I'm not going to hold you back. You're going to do. So we got to create this insane store, and the things that sold I mean, men's for sure was socks,
Yeah.
but socks, books, and women's apparel like were the top three. And this, mind you, this was a frozen yogurt and a candy shop. And it was insane. But socks, because they're just so easy to sell and they have so many, I mean, and the fact that you guys introduce that many, there's always newness. And you, to your point, the customers or buyers that are not willing to try new things, it's like, chance is a risky thing, but that's one of the things I always believed as a buyer, as well as I do for my business. It's like, you have to take a certain amount of risk in order, because if not, you stay safe, and safe is never, safe is boring. It's never exciting. It's never new. I mean, because it's safe. It's the same. And it's like, just try new, like a new line, and you don't have to write it deep. You don't have to like get in bed with them. It's like, test it, do test orders, dribble some water on it. And it's like, your line, because you have so many new intros, it's like, how you always have something new to show. And God knows you have so many goddamn styles. It's fucking nuts. Like, seriously, like,
it's bananas. It really is. One of Ellen's I love Ellen's quote, because she said it to me early when I started, and then it's kind of in her retail mindset. And for her, like, she always pushes her buyers, like, I want you to try new. You're always going to have the safe, the Danskos, the Birkenstocks of the world, but let's find that really cool shoe for her shoe stores, right? Find that really cool item that you haven't seen before, and take a shot. And she always says, like, test, then invest, right? She and Eric have always, like, just had a really aggressive but yet conservative, like, hey, you got to take a shot sometimes. And so for me, in the sock world, the accessory world, whatever, it's that's just frustrating. It's frustrating when a guy, a big buyer for a large outdoor store, won't give you the time of day because he can't get out of that mindset of like, well, you sell a sock and I have socks. Okay, well, don't think that way. Don't put me next to your brown socks on the wall back there on your private label, because that's
no one's gonna find
awful.
it.
I don't want that. Put me next to your friggin', your Cliff Bar, put us there. Like,
Impulse. Is it, do you think it's better to have it? Would it be better as an impulse, or would it
in that environment, impulse all the way?
So near your Cliff Bars, the pickup stuff, like, so a rack near a register.
Absolutely. The queue line, right? All day long. But again, it comes to this, well, it's not what I normally do, so therefore I'm not going to try it because I don't understand it. And we literally heard, I don't understand it. Really?
You don't understand socks?
Yeah. It's like, come on, really? Come on. So
I don't, I
whatever,
just don't get
whatever.
it.
You don't get one, you get another. It's all good. It's all good. I think retail is just in such an interesting space right now. I feel like if you're a retailer out there that just doesn't have it all together, like if you're struggling to find employees, if you're struggling to, you just don't know what's coming next. I just feel badly for those retailers because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard out there right now. I think the interesting thing is, and I would ask these people, our buyers, I mean, our partners and stuff from like Atlanta, and I'll do this next week as well, is, as you find, and you have these conversations with your people as well. It's like, what's the next excuse? Like, what is it? 2023 should be a kick-ass year. And
Yeah.
if it's not, then what's the excuse? We've lived through a pandemic. There's no more election. We're not going to shut down again. The war is still happening, right? In Ukraine and Russia. Like, that's still a thing, but it's not in our face like it was in the beginning, right? So that's kind of like what we tend to do is like, oh, let's push that aside and we'll touch on it, right? But we keep going. So like I've asked, like, recession is right now held at bay. So what is the excuse for 2023? And right now, I haven't heard one. So for me, I look at it and I tell my reps, like, there is no excuse. Like, it is going to go, we're going waist deep. Like, we're all in. Let's just go in and sell and create and open accounts and tell stories, sell good product, get good read, good sell through, make people money. Because there's no excuse. There's no reason that we should be like, oh, well, the temperature is like, there's no excuse. There is none right now. There might be in 6 months. I just don't know what it is.
One of the things on the panel, somebody had said, and in Las Vegas, I mean, this last gift show, and I heard Atlanta was the same way, was fucking nuts. So many people, like,
Yeah.
So it was almost like all of a sudden everybody decided they were comfortable traveling again. Like and I mean, for the buyers that, saw the sell through and knew they needed to get in and feel and touch, and like they were ready to get back out, but there was still a large amount of people that were just not comfortable traveling. I mean, it's like, sure. COVID is what it is. Like it's right. So it was almost like the floodgates were just open. And I mean, it was insane. Like, the first day of Vegas, standing in, because I was still driving there, and Erin had gotten there, and she goes, we already had our badges, and she's like, the area where they corral you to get your badge, and the area coming off of the elevators or parking, she goes, there is no room for anyone to walk, and it's like almost like they didn't know where to go. Do you go out to the courtyard, or do you go into Temps, or because there was really only two places you can go unless you know about this one little weird hall that gets you into the building.
Yeah.
But she said it was so crazy how many people were in this space trying to figure out. And it came up in the roundtable. Somebody said, with the possibility of recession and people aren't buying, I'm like, have you been downstairs and looked at how many people? It's like, I know that there's supposed to be a recession somewhere out there, but if anybody has looked at the amount of people that were shopping, as well as the numbers, people's traffic is down, but the people that are buying more. And it's almost like people are comparing physical bodies in their store to like, we're not that busy. But I feel like if you go back and look at your quantity of transactions you had last year to this year or what have you, and look at the numbers, I'm willing to bet you have less transactions and they're higher amounts. Because people are wanting, and it's like, you're right with the excuses. It's like, and plus also, I feel like if you always have an excuse, then you're never going to fully commit. Yeah. Like you have, it's almost like it's your like safety net of like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to, because I knew that was going to happen. It's like, no, come on, man. Let's just go. Like, let's just go for broke. Really. Like, we were getting ready to exit Atlanta, by the way. We were like, okay, I'm going to do this show, and if it doesn't fly, then we're out. Because we were getting ready to pull the trigger on 19 and about not attending any more shows and just being done. And then pandemic hit. and there's a major reset. And then we went back and I was like, oh shit, okay, we'll take, like, this is good. Like this.
Atlanta, you're in temps or are you in a showroom?
We're in the temps. Yeah.
Okay.
The temps. So building, what is building at 3, right? Building
Yeah.
3. But we had a really good show. Wrote a bunch and we opened a bunch of accounts and had a really good show. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh wow, well okay, that's cool. And then
Guess we're staying in
think,
Atlanta.
yeah. I think I'm anxious about next week. I'm anxious to see what happens at Magic. Because if it doesn't, if it doesn't end well, like if it's just at the end of the day, we're like, okay, that just kind of wasn't worth it. It's a lot of money to spend for not, for the little return.
Yeah.
Then, I don't know. Then we'll see. And the same thing for New York. If New York's not really, really banging, then it's like, all right, well, we don't have to come to New York again. And we'll wait a while.
Well, it seems like you show at apparel shows and you show at gift. It seems like the gift shows, your product is so giftable that it feels like it's less of like an apparel show item and more of like a gift show item, because it's you have so much. B, it's not by season, here's our fall collection, and because it sells so well. I mean, you obviously both sides, but it seems like gift is like, those are the shows that you're seeing. Am I reading that wrong? The shows that
no, we do well in the gift world. We do. It's crazy. We've opened up so many channels, new channels for us. I mean, the hardware store business is crazy. The better grocery stores is starting to go off, which is, I love it. It's awesome. So that's a lot of fun. The feed stores, all that stuff is like, we're starting to get more and more and more and more of those. Gift, Terry, who Maurice's husband and our rep who lives in Nevada, they did Las Vegas gift and they had a really strong show. I don't, we do so many. I think we did with our regional shows and our national shows last year, we were like 26, 28 deep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. But I mean, if you're a rep, right, you have to do your regionals. You have to travel. You have to do the things that people expect you to do, and that's show up. You got to show up.
Yeah.
So
I have to ask you, because in the gift world, it has been huge forever, of like F-bomb things like Gumball Poodle.
Yeah.
You guys don't have anything like that. Has that been a strategic, we just don't think we need to get the cheap shot of the F-bomb?
Yeah, you know what? Like, it's funny because we did an F-bomb sock, but it was totally different, right? It was literally like an F and a bomb. We don't really get into a lot of that because for us, first of all, we love the brand. We love Gumball Poodle and we hang really well with them. And that's what if people are like, oh, I have Gumball Poodle, it's like, great, because we're not them and they're not us. And so we hang really well next to it, because if you need that B and that F and that C on the sock, great, that's your brand. And nobody does it better than them, to be honest. But then for us, like, and now I can get the sun again. But for us, like, we feel that no one does what we do as good as we do. Yeah. And there are a lot of players in this space, right? There's a lot of big hitters, conglomerates. But I tell you, man, we have data. I've got the data. We have stores that sell all those brands. So it's really hard for me not to just say, can I just show you something? Can I just please just show you something? Right. Because
I know for me, like, because a lot of people, like, we're really dedicated to this line, but I feel like more is more when it comes to some things, socks being one of them. But I wanted to ask you about the F-bomb thing, because F-bomb,
I'm rotating the last couple of minutes so I can get out of the sun.
F-bomb sold so well for us as a category. So the property is so pretty. I can't get over it. So tell me, I want to ask you a couple more questions before we get our time. You talk a lot about storytelling. Because that's one of the things that I believe as a merchandiser, storytelling is so important. That's what sets the stage. That's what, for Anthro, it was, we'd get the rollouts of the new concepts, and it was, who lives there, what she looks like, is her house layered, and what SKUs are in that, and what are velocity items and whatnot. How do you, when you say storytelling, how do you like, what does that look like to you?
Well, I think it's different for so many categories and products, right? For us, we're just true and true. We're just a lifestyle brand. It's just if you see something, it's like, oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, have you seen that? I mean, because we do so much of that. We do so much, from gardening to sewing to like really cool golf stuff to
Sasquatch,
the Bigfoot, right? To
foods,
guitars.
beers.
Yeah, all that. And then we have multiple categories. So if someone's like, well, our clientele's a little bit higher, it's like, okay, we have an entire bamboo program that is beautiful and it sells like really well, really, really well. And it keeps growing, right? So these are the things we really get behind and really excited about because our collection is so vast. We can tell a story for about anything you might want. I mean, really, from your pet lover to your fish lover to your food lover to your supernatural lover, right? It just goes on and on and on and on. And so for us, it gets a little bit like, just tell me what your customers like. Tell me what kind of store you have. Okay, let's start here because it doesn't matter what kind of store you have. These are your best sellers. They're always going to move. And then we can kind of keep moving down the wall and just grab a whole bunch of things. That's why a lot of times you'll see in our booth, we set it up like a retail store, right? Rows and columns, columns and rows. That's the way you sell socks. That's the way you sell socks well. And so we let people kind of look and then we just kind of guide them if they are looking like, oh, do you have this? Like, oh yeah, it's here. And then there's also this and this and this. So our storytelling becomes a little bit more like, let's dance a little bit. Let's see what you like and tell me about your store, as opposed to, telling a story about the brand, which I do too, if people want to hear it. But most of the time it's like, it shows people are in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what are your best sellers? Like, all right, dude, that's easy. Like, come on. All right. I mean, I can do that. That's fine. Um, but the storytelling part of it is just, I don't know. It can be really short lived or it can be way more in depth. It just really depends on who's asking the question. I think, I don't know. I just think as a brand, as any brand, you got to know, your core values, your belief, what your ethos is. And that's really what you have to be able to sell. Ultimately, you have to be able to sell that. Because like I said, I have data all day that I know how well we're going to perform, if we're given a chance. But what I don't know is I don't know your staff. I don't know how I don't know who's behind the counter. I don't know if it's
Oh,
kids just doing their homework, not looking up. I don't
oh my
know if there's
God. Don't even get
engagement.
me started on that right now.
Oh my God. We went to a store recently and it was my daughter's favorite store in Truckee. She loves it. She loves this store. We went about 3 years ago and I think the owner was in there with maybe her friend and they were amazing. I mean, amazing. And it's not cheap, but whatever. My daughter was, I'm a sucker. My daughter just slays me. So we're in there. My wife's in there. I'm in there. It's just the three of us, and we're, the lab's on the couch with us, and the store dog, right? And my wife's like, "Oh my God," right? And I'm just like, "Jesus Christ!" Like I'm good. So we get a few things, and we go back another time, but maybe 6 months later, another season, and not quite the same feeling. They weren't there. A couple of employees were okay, not great. Didn't get anything that trip. Went back a third time, no help whatsoever. And then went back 2 weeks ago, and I am not kidding. We walked in. First of all, I thought it was a club because the music was so damn loud, and I'm like making myself sound really old, and I am. But I mean, I'm like seriously like I'm looking for strobe lights. I'm like, woo, like I mean, it's crazy loud in there,
Ah,
and there were four employees that we counted.
all
The
behind
first
the counter.
Well, two are behind the counter, two are behind like a curtain, like working on their mixtape type of thing. And nobody, not one person acknowledged, said hello. Hey, can I help you find anything? Not one person for 30 minutes.
Oh my God. Can I tell you right now? Okay.
It was brutal.
I will say this, that I went into a couple stores in New York, and it's like, what is the deal with people? It's like part of it is that too cool for school, like,
Like, really?
like hi, kind of. But I went into Birkenstock, and there are like 6 people that work there they're all behind the counter. They don't have to go downstairs and get the shoes. There's somebody downstairs, a runner, that they're all on texting. So they don't even have to do that. So they literally are at the cash register. And I'm like,
They don't have to do anything but talk and say hi.
I mean, and I was like, can I add this shoe too as well? And she just takes the box of me and like goes down and and then I'm like, should I wait here for him? She's like, no, I'll bring him to you. And she comes over and she's all like just uninterested, still carrying on a conversation with the people at the counter, drops the boxes, and then just kind of stands there, but still on her phone and still engaging with everyone over there. And it was like, I don't understand, like the not looking at someone and not acknowledging them and not like, I mean, we had one amazing,
parents.
I mean, one amazing experience. What's the headphones that aren't Bose? They're another really
Beats. You mean like
no,
Beats,
no, they're like $500 a pair.
Oh,
they're amazing. They're beautiful. But we went into that shop. There's 4 people that work there. One of the guys, super engaging. Hi, how are you? Really not like, like, okay, here you are. And are you going to be able to buy something? I'm trying to sell you. But just super engaging. Hi, how are you? Like just went through the whole thing. And like, they bought a pair of the headphones. And it was like, so, and granted, you're selling a luxury product, but so many of those luxury stores are also the people that look at you and go, yeah, she's not going to buy. Like, let us know if you can need anything. We'll be over here. And it's like, fuck you.
No, it's painful. It's painful to watch. And like I told my daughter when we left, I said, honey, I know you love that store,
but it sucks.
But I can never go back there. And she's like, you know what, Dad, that was awful. It was awful. And now it's funny because she's now at Nordstrom up in Spokane and working there part-time. And she loves it, man. She's like, Dad, I talked to this person on my way upstairs to this family, just said hi, good morning, good morning, and asked them if they were finding everything okay on my way to my floor. So like 20 minutes later, the mom comes up to me with this armful of clothes, puts them on the counter. She's like, hey, can you check us out? And she's like, oh,
that
sure.
is everything.
Like, who rung you up, or who helped you downstairs? Like, she's like, nobody.
No one. Yeah, no one.
Like, oh, okay. I mean, it's just, and that's what because both my kids, they know, it's like, just all you have to do is be polite.
Yep.
Smile, say hello, and good things will happen. It's very simple. Very simple.
You said that in the first interview, and it was like, it's very true.
It's rule of thumb. That's why, going back to like Eric and Ellen's stores at the store level, their retail game is no joke. No joke, because you're gonna get treated like a person. They're genuinely interested in making you feel like you belong there, and like they appreciate you coming into the store.
I love that.
One gets dialed in, man. They get it dialed in. They're really good.
The customer service, and I get on my soapbox all the time about this, like this customer service experience, like for my staff, when I have my stores, it was anybody that buys anything, even if it's a pair of socks. And this is like when there was no cell phones, and but it's send them a handwritten card, send them a thank you. And the fact that, because I know there's people that will send emails to say thanks so much, or texts, which I'm sorry, sort of makes me crazy, but that most of those things are going to get kind of bypassed. But you go and you open your mail and you open a handwritten card for somebody that you're like, I just bought a pair of socks. And it's like, and it's like, hey, thanks so much. I mean, that there's something about that, and that, like, and to have customer service where it's something memorable, I think is like where a lot of retailers, like, that will be everyone's excuse of why they're not going to try things, because their sales suck because their employees suck.
Yeah, that is painful to hear too, because people, you ask people like, I just can't keep anybody, good.
Yeah.
I can't.
That is part of it as well. But I don't know. I'm not in that arena, so I can't really speak to that. And I do know that people I've heard, but I also know a whole handful of stores that have had, the same employees that have stayed with them because they've treated them really well. They've put they've really put them in charge, and it's given them ownership, and it's really, they're not being micromanaged. They're not, they much like your company of turning it into an employee owned, like there's ownership in that, and that prideful. And I think that you're going to have crappy employees a lot, but I think that if you do
Sure.
things like that and you give them ownership and you make them feel valued and important as much as you want them to treat your customers like that as well. I mean, you're always
Yeah.
going to have a shitty person, but I think by far and large.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I'm super, super grateful for, this chance to talk to you again. And I'm so excited for, for just to see your podcast grow. I think it's so cool that you're traveling with it. And I
It's
think that's great.
crazy.
Congratulations.
I mean, I was so excited because I'm having you come back on, and we have a couple of Dale from Caton and a couple, because we had such great responses to it. And I will say, like, what I think blew me out of the water more than, don't pay any attention to my dog that is so pissed off that her mealtime was at 2:00, and clearly she is mad because
Right.
she's not stopped barking. But the thing that kind of blew me away the most about being at the show, and especially New York, was people coming up going, "We love your podcast." Like
Nice.
one of the lines, she was a wholesale line. She also has a store in Chicago. One of her employees reached out, DM'd me, and was like, "Will you please stop by the booth? Blah, blah, blah. Loves it. She actually makes us listen to it in the store." And so I stopped by and said hi to her. And it was more to say, thank you so much. Like, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. She goes, seriously, like things like where you're like, you hear other people what they're going through, you hear other crap that are like conversations just now about like what works and what doesn't, and what employs and what people are looking for. And it's like, I am really, I don't know. It's been a wild ride, and it's like, I'm so grateful. We just hit, as of yesterday, 15,006
Nice.
downloads, and
Nice.
like,
That's
it's
awesome.
not in
I love it.
our like to watch the numbers grow of how many more and more and more are being consumed. And they're going through, I get a report, they're going, like, I'll get the new episode drop, and then I get to see all the other episodes that people are getting caught up with. And it's just,
Cool.
I don't know. It's crazy, but thank you.
I think part of it is that you have those cool, like Elvis rock star reading like glasses on, and that helps create that rock star vibe that you have.
So not rock star in my.
Those are rad as hell. I like them a lot. I noticed them when you first logged on. I'm like, damn it, I want those.
I have like 25 pairs of readers, and it just depends on literally what is near me on my desk. It has nothing to do with the fashion, because right now I'm in like a workout outfit. Which is even more stupid than I'm wearing these with the workout outfit.
It works. It works. They're cool. I say I can't do that because I'm so blind that my glasses now to be so freaking thick. It's like they just fall on my face or crush my face. So you look good. You look good.
Thank you. I'm very blind. So that everything's like, all of them are 2.0 or 2.5.
Like a 9.8.
Well, I'm super excited to see you next week at Magic. And I'm so grateful for you to spend this time with me and like just talk retail and talk shop, because these are some of the funnest conversations. And I feel like these are some of the conversations that the retailers here love to hear more than any of the other ones.
Yeah, well, it's once you get in retail, that it's kind of in your blood, right? If you start in it early and young, and you just, I don't know, it's in my blood, and customer service is in my blood, and treat people right. Hopefully, it's the same. So I don't know. We do our best.
Lifers. That's the reason why the podcast is the Retail Horror, because
here you go.
Been in it forever.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll see you next week.